Sounds good. 46, take 2.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to First Takes. This is where we explore the ideas shaping the future of brand experiences, culture, and innovation. Today we're diving into the topic of experience design. What does it actually mean and what is the value? And in this world powered by digital tools, AI, and the continuous pipeline of emerging technology, how do we design experiences that still feel deeply human? So today I am joined by Ollie Adams. He's our Creative Strategy and Innovation Director here at First, and he is someone who focuses on what truly separates good experiences from great ones. And I'm very excited to be here with Ollie. We get to work together often, but I'm happy to be here in London, in person with you, so welcome.
Thank you, Jen. Great to be here.
Great to have you. So I think to kick things off, give us a little bit of the flavor of your role at First.
Okay, yes, so Creative Strategy and Innovation Director. So that's a fancy way of saying that I connect the dots between our clients' goals and our creative outputs. I think by now I'm a bit of a veteran in the industry. I'm not sure what the threshold is, but I've been in this space for around 16 or 17 years. My first experiential project was sending terrified members of the media out into a dark Arabian desert to hunt down baddies from a particular computer game I was launching, and most recently I've helped a global corporate better understand their audiences so we can build better experiences. So my path has been a bit weird, a bit wonky, but I've enjoyed every minute of it so far.
So we are here to talk about the idea of experience design. Why don't we start with just a definition and your point of view on what it's all about?
Okay, experience design, one of my favorite topics. Experience design is the practice of being very purposeful about the journey that the person or your audience is going to be going on. So from the moment they receive an invite to the moment they walk out the door, just being very intentional about each of those touch points and making sure that each touch point is doing a very specific job in helping that person feel a very specific feeling or emotion. So that is essentially what experience design is.
So what would you say is the difference between producing an event and designing an experience?
I think producing an event, oftentimes you start with budget, you start with resource, you start with timelines. With experience design, the first thing that you're starting with is the impact on the audience, the emotional impact on the audience. So I think when you think about event planning, the overall goal might be to run a seamless event which is on time. The goal of experience design is based around memories, emotions, interaction. So whilst there's some very basic differences, I also think you probably shouldn't be pitting them against each other in any kind of like this or that situation. They both have to work perfectly together in order to create the biggest impact on the audience.
I think that leads into what makes experience design a true discipline, right? If you can expand on that a little bit. I think it touches a little, as you talked about emotion. There's a lot there.
There is, yeah. First of all, experience design, it is a discipline. It's a tangible thing. There's so much behavioral science that goes into it. It's backed by academia. There's so much that you can learn by applying some of the practices and some of the methodology. So I think in that sense, yeah, it is a discipline. But when you start looking under the hood of experience design and you start thinking about what it is actually trying to do, which is change people's behavior, have a real emotional impact on people, make people feel a certain way, you really start to understand how it can actually be the best way to achieve client objectives.
Yeah.
And when you really think about it, I mean, when I think about it, when I'm talking to clients, if I say the word strategy, for example, experience design strategy in that context, oftentimes their minds might go straight to commercial goals, commercial objectives, quarterly pipelines. When I say the word strategy in the land of brand experiences, my mind's instantly going to how can I make this person feel goosebumps during the keynote. So straight away there's a big difference.
Yeah.
You've got quarterly pipeline objectives and goosebumps. So they're very, very different. So we have to bridge that gap. And I think experience design gives you the tools and the practices to be able to bridge that gap through behavior change.
I love that, and it is that balance, right? Because there's the importance of the data and the metrics in that sense, it's in capturing that, but also the emotional side. At the end of the day, when we are creating an experience, it's an audience of human beings, and we are humans first, no matter what we're doing, whether we're in a business setting or whatever setting we're in. And so when you appeal to that emotional side, you get so much from the result of that with what you're creating for that person. It really makes so much sense as you talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think business objectives are obviously massively, massively important, but we're in the world of events, we're in the world of brand experiences. The human and emotional impact is just as important, and it is a route to business success.
Yeah, for sure. So as we talk about experience design, so much is reliant today with everything we do being so digital driven, with AI integrated in. Where do you see actual opportunity for technology and specifically AI to enhance the human experience of an event?
First of all, I believe the human experience should be protected at all costs. I think that means us with ourselves being super critical about our own ideas, always asking the question, how is this piece of technology going to impact the human experience? But one of the amazing ways that I've seen specifically AI start to be used is in making larger scale events feel more personal. I think personalization as a term has been on the tongues of event planners and marketeers for decades and decades, and we haven't ever quite been able to master it at scale, so that true intimacy at scale.
It's such an interesting concept. Can you give an example of something you've seen or that you're exploring?
Yeah, I'm starting to get a lot of inspiration from the sports and entertainment and music industries. They are usually quite proactive and quite advanced when it comes to this sort of thing, but there's a particular sports stadium where they're learning about the behaviours of their season ticket holders match after match after match, and they're feeding all of this data and all of this information into their AI system, which is then able to produce personalised offers. The system itself allows them to, even when they arrive into the car park, the system knows and recognises that that's their car, so it automatically assigns them a seat. It automatically grants them entry, so they don't have to go to any ticket barriers, they don't have to queue up, they just walk straight in. The same system is linked to their retail and their food and beverage outlets, so people can just literally walk in, pick up a hot dog, walk out again. The system knows that's what they've done, it charges them accordingly, and it just makes the whole experience so frictionless and so easy. And I think the fact that they're tying it to their loyalty system as well, eventually, week after week, they're going to learn so much about that person and their behaviours. So they're really going to be able to personalise that experience with different promotions and different content. I think taking that, finding ways to integrate it into the work that we do, corporate events, and being able to treat every single person like we truly know them. I think that's the massive opportunity.
That's what I was taking away. It's like the brand really understanding and knowing the audience, and again, that experience, that human experience of the technology can facilitate that is exciting. There seems like a great opportunity. Connected to that, we're often working with technology brands or showcasing technology or working to integrate technology in a thoughtful way into the work that we do and crafting experiences. Could you give an example of something that we have been doing or we have done, just starting to work with AI to enhance the experience?
Absolutely. So one of our clients in particular we were looking at their particular audience group. It's quite a large scale annual, flagship event. We know that they're going to have a very diverse audience, lots of different audience types, lots of different ages, all sorts of stuff. So we wanted to find ways that we could give people access to the main stage content and to the breakout stage content, but in lots of different ways and in lots of different formats that didn't always depend on them being in the room. And one of those ways was to use AI session summaries. Every main stage or keynote piece of content, every breakout, it was recorded and fed into an AI system which generated in real time session summaries. But they were summaries that picked out the main quotes, that was able to pick up on sentiment. It was able to identify what the kind of keywords and buzzwords were. And it wrapped all of that into a designed PDF which people could access instantly. We found this was a massive benefit for audiences. There's 10,000 downloads of those sessions summaries. But we also found that it was a massive value add for the client, because then they had instant access to session summary content, some of it in bite-sized formats that they could then integrate into their own content marketing strategy.
That's great. And I think even an extra layer onto that, not only utilizing technology, we are working with so many technology brands, and technology is at the forefront of our content.
Yeah, so loads of our clients, technology is their thing.
Yeah.
Their flagship products are agentic AI products. And it's almost like they're coming to us and saying, how can we use maybe our product, or how can we use technology to tell the story of their own technology? So it's quite a challenge, because you're thinking about how they can do that, and you're unpacking what their own products can and can't do, but you're thinking about it through the eyes of the audience and through the eyes of the human experience. How do you actually do that in a way that doesn't become just another product demo? So you're thinking about, okay, what can this product really do? How can we bring that to life in experiential ways, theatrical ways which are really going to engage and excite the audience? So that's the massive opportunity, and that's where I have most of my fun.
That's great. It's exciting. I feel like we're only at the tip of the iceberg, really. There's so much more coming. Do you see instances where brands are maybe overcomplicating or over-engineering the experience, and perhaps mistaking the idea of just an interaction for actual engagement?
Yeah, I think in our business, there's a temptation to try and do too much, or to try and get too many messages across, because we have the space, we're in big venues, because we have the time, if events run over two or 3 days. But I think learning from the advertising industry, we can try to keep that more single-minded. I think if you try and overload too many messages into a print ad or into a TV ad, the audience is going to walk away not remembering anything. And I think we can apply a little bit of that thinking into the work that we do. Events are like adverts. They're just one big, continuous, one-take advert. And we don't get the luxury of shouting cut. Can we do that again? We've got one chance. So I think if you can make it more honed and more single-minded, then I think that's only going to be a win.
One more question for you. To predict the future, if you look ahead 3 to 5 years or however long, what do you think will separate a good experience from a truly exceptional experience?
Thinking ahead, we can actually think back a little bit in order to think ahead. I think right now there's a real focus and there's a real buzz in the industry about immersive experiences, immersive entertainment, experience design. It feels like we're all remembering again the power of human connection, the power of making people feel certain emotions. And I truly believe that the most successful experiences in 3 to 5 years will be the ones that double down on that, really bake experience design into their event planning processes. I think audiences are maybe now more than ever, and especially younger generations coming through, I think they're expecting more from the events that they go to. I think people are looking for more transformational experiences. That might sound a little bit woo-woo, but I really believe that, you know, we're in the position to help them think differently or feel differently about themselves or have new perspectives. And I think the brands and the organizations that position themselves in that space and allow that and enable that are going to be the ones that produce amazing experiences.
Yeah, it's great. I do have some speed round questions. Minimalism or maximalism?
Maxi, all the way.
Which surprises me. What's a small ritual you can't start your day without?
If you're looking for things like I jump into an ice bath or do yoga, you're not going to get that from me. My mornings are not complete unless I've shouted repeatedly at my children to brush their teeth, have their breakfast, get ready for school. So that's that.
That's your ritual. I wasn't expecting the ice bath either. Coffee or tea?
I flirt with coffee, but my loyalties lie with tea.
Okay. Book, podcast, or random internet rabbit hole, where do you get the best inspiration from? Or maybe none of the above.
Comment sections, usually. They're the place that I get a lot of joy searching through comment sections. I've often based whole strategies on a comment I've seen on YouTube videos. But outside of that, it's just people. I like going to pubs, barbers, taxi rides, train stations, and just looking at people, observing people, all their weirdness. That's where a lot of inspiration comes from.
That's amazing. Finish this sentence. The best ideas usually come from blank.
Somewhere else.
Great. This was awesome. Thank you, Ali, for being here. I know I always get the pleasure of talking to you, and I'm so happy to be able to share you to the world. So thank you for joining me today. So I'd say if there's one big takeaway from today that I heard, it's this idea of innovation. It's not about adding more. It's really designing with intention. So thank you all for watching this episode of First Takes. If you enjoyed the conversation, please make sure to follow along for more insights and point of view shaping the future of our industry. And we'll see you on the next one.
Sounds good. 46, take 2.